Welcome to Coming Home, Survive and Thrive in Homeschooling. This week, we use the homeschool principle of the world is your classroom. I am in Napier for the weekend, so wherever I am, I can't help but look for interesting things to observe and learn. There's a bit of wind as I'm walking and talking, which reminds me I really must buy a fluffy microphone to block noise and a selfie stick to keep the camera a decent distance from me. After the video, I have a mini interview with a fellow attendee at the conference who adds to the business experience advice for entrepreneurial young adults and not so young adults. Also, her experience of homeschooling with no choice during lockdown, which led to choosing to continue the lifestyle. We found the quietest room we could, but there is still a bit of background noise.
First of all, I'm just going to show you, this is the view that I have had from our hotel down here. This is the Bay of Napier. And if you were going to go that way, you'd be heading off to the Americas somewhere, and that would be Northish America. So this is the east coast of New Zealand, and this bay is just beautiful. Napier has turned on, gorgeous weather for today, just stunning. And over there is the port of Napier. So already you can see that if you're looking at your world as the classroom, you can see some ideal just learning opportunities that just pop up just simply because you're here. First of all, Napier, I've never been here before. I think I was here as a child, but I don't have any memories. Well, there's the port of Napier for a start. You could find out what is their main import-export that comes in from here. How many ships have they got coming in each day? What is that line of white rocks along the beachfront there? And if you just got in your boat and just started from here, how long would it actually take you to get from here over to, let's say, Chile? And if you veered up northwest, how long would it take you to get up to America? Now these chairs that I'm sitting on here, marvellous installation, isn't it? Just gorgeous. So let's lean back in this big chair for a giant, purple being my favourite colour, and with the view out on here for a little while. I'll start just a few thoughts about why I think this would be an ideal opportunity to bring some of your homeschooling older students, I think, not the young ones. And why I think it would be a good idea is that over the weekend I have seen they're all small business women. Sometimes they're in business with their husbands, and sometimes it might be a bigger business like the skeins and the wool mill that we went to see. But nevertheless, they're all small businesses. I think a weekend like this, apart from being a marvellous weekend for crafters like me to get away and just spend time with people who are like-minded and look at their wares and learn in their workshops, buy lots of beautiful wool and patterns, is that I realised yesterday that an opportunity like this would also be ideal for homeschooling, probably teens I would think, who are starting to think about their future and how to create their own business and income. Because over the weekend here, all of these crafters and traders who are here and the teachers, they all have their own businesses. They're either knitters and all designers. Some of them dye their wool, spinners, but all successful business owners who all know what it's like at the coalface of having to put their business out into a very busy business world and how to actually do it. So for a teenager who has got a wonderful idea that he or she wants to monetize and maybe shape their own career out of it, to be able to sit at the feet, as it were, of a mentor who has walked this path and learnt things the hard way, and who is generous and willing to tell you some of the things you must do, things not to bother with, what to be careful of, and to teach you through their own mistakes and their successes of how to actually do it themselves. An ideal time for a homeschooler to come down and do this. 2 of the classes, I did 4, were on creating your own designs, pattern designs, either just for yourself, as many of the women would be doing, or to actually get them designed and ready for sale, and how to go about that from her own business experience. I would think that if I was a very keen knitter in my teens and I was very keen to emulate that type of business, because I'd had a glimpse of what a successful business could be like, that one that I could do what I loved and get paid for it rather than have to go and do something for somebody else. It would be fabulous for my young me to sit there and learn from this person of what to do next and how to go about it. The other class I did, one was a spinning class, because I would like to learn how to spin. And as a proficient knitter, it's quite humbling to have to sit in a class and feel like a real noob and struggle with a new concept and craft. At one stage there, I was about ready to chuck it into the corner and go and get a coffee and sit and do my knitting. So the importance of being able to persevere through something new is also a valuable life lesson, and I'm going to learn to spin. The other class I did that would be beneficial for as a mentoring type opportunity for homeschool teens was a fit to knit class, or knit to fit I think it was called, because all the work that you put into a garment, only for the disappointment of it not actually fitting properly, and how to actually fix that, how to take the measurements of your natural body and tweak the pattern so that it's going to fit you and look really good. And again, from a business perspective, it was just a goldmine of ideas and advice. And each one of these traders, I'm absolutely convinced, would be only too willing to listen and teach, and maybe be in a panel and a question time for especially young budding entrepreneurs, and pass on their valuable information, because that's just how we learn best. So that's why I think coming to a weekend like this is an amazing opportunity for you to bring your homeschool teens and find a way of making a weekend like this work for them in a way that's their education, and that once again we have a very clear example of the world as your classroom. Not only have we got a gorgeous setting, I mean, look at that, not me, that.
Earlier on when we were chatting, you mentioned that there were some key things for basic business building. So before we go into asking you about how you got on during the homeschool lockdowns and what was the result for you, would you mind going back over, because we are thinking about young ones in their teens, young adults who may want to bring a fantastic idea and want to do it. And I love some of what you said. What's on your mind? Can you tell me?
To me, the skills I think that make businesses fly are actually good life skills. And so I think that it's good anyway to develop them. You just do you. It's really hard to be someone else. You can't keep it up. And it helps you realise who you are and develop who you are. I think it's good for us to do that. So that's the first thing I'd say, is be you. And the second thing is be consistent. Become a piece of the furniture. Just do things even when you don't feel like it. It's good training for us. It's actually really good in terms of personal development. I think owning a small business is a little bit like a personal development course, if you let it be. So those would be my 2 things. Be you, be consistent.
Let's turn now to your homeschooling experience. So as we know, last year many parents with school-age children suddenly had to do homeschooling, and they didn't even choose to. Reflect on your immediate response to what that was.
I wonder if it was less of a shock to me than other people. I've been an involved parent. I do things 110%. So my early years of parenting, I was at home with my kids and I enjoyed all that, and I got involved in what they did and they got involved in what I did. So I'd come at things like that. It hadn't been long since I'd had kids at home. So the idea of having them at home, well, we just slotted into how we used to do things. And with my youngest, I decided I didn't want her sitting all day on the computer, so we just let school know she wouldn't be doing that. She learned how to make a mean latte and things like that, and I just thought it's good for her to spend time with us and just figure out what she likes to do. And she actually hadn't been in school long enough, I don't think, to have lost that curiosity that kids have to follow what they love. So it was easy with her. The older ones, it was much more difficult. Some of them had exams, they were finishing up schooling, and I think the hardest thing was watching how hard it was for them. I wasn't particularly concerned about how they would do academically, but socially I think it was really hard for them, because they were so familiar with the daily routine of going in and out and meeting up with friends, and all of that stopped. And other kids just, kids are different. Every kid's are different, aren't they? Some kids put more pressure on themselves to keep up, and I think that the way they were doing school online, it put pressure on some of my kids that they didn't really need, and I didn't like that. So I would encourage them to not try and keep up, and try and do something else that you enjoyed, and see this as an opportunity to read a book that you've been wanting to read, or make something you've been wanting to make. And some of them were more resistant to that than others, just because I think it wasn't what they were being told to do by school.
Sounds like you were already starting to think like a homeschooler.
I've always secretly been a homeschooler. I think so. I didn't feel panicky about it at all, I don't think. It just felt like a natural progression. And actually, when I started to see what was coming down the Zoom, and I'd have a child race in with a laptop, waving frantically at it, listening to the kind of things that were being said, propaganda, actually, in some cases, that was enough for me to write several letters to school, and my husband wrote letters to school, and I was more keen to start cutting the ties.
Had you not realised up until then that was what was going on in the schools, but you just didn't really realise it?
Yes and no, because I think that with my older children, they had always done well, and what I had observed was okay. And I think what I saw them getting out of being part of the schools we'd put them into was good. I felt like they had access to sort of real life, which I appreciated. But I had begun to notice a change. And with the child that was then sort of in the middle of high school, I had noticed a significant difference. In the same school, between the eldest ones and that one, there was a real shift. I had already begun to be a little bit anxious about, oh no, what is actually going on here? So I think things were just then cemented and confirmed. So I might have already been halfway in a decision of not being happy, but I didn't think I would pull them out of school. I was just thinking, how were we going to negotiate this? So I was sort of always poised over the keyboard, ready to write another letter, was the approach I was taking.
What made you make that final decision, your husband and yourself, of going, actually, let's take this one step further and homeschool?
Well, we were subject to the Auckland lockdown, which went on and on and on. And it was not long into that I thought, actually, I want the option of not sending them back. And I could see that mask use was going to be a reality for them. I wasn't sure that I wanted them to be back the following year. I just didn't know what the following year was going to hold. It was at a point when mandates were coming, and I didn't want them to have to deal with any of that at all. So I did apply to homeschool them and thought, well, we will deal with this for the rest of the year, and then when next year comes, we'll sort of cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, it was pretty quick. I think that lockdown really pushed us into, okay, let's just do this. I think we can do the stuff I'm seeing you doing. I'm pretty sure we can do that.
It's an adventure, and I wish you and your husband and your children all the best and look forward to hearing more. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.